people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. The rumors turned out to be true. IBF lightweight champion Alif Turhan will in fact be defending her title against Gabriella Tellez. You might be familiar with that name, as that is the younger sister of Reina Tellez, who boxed Amanda Serrano earlier this year. Lost the decision and subsequently got picked up by MVP for giving a good fight and leaving a lasting impression. If Gabriella is anything like her older sister, Reina, then the reigning champion Alif Turhan is in for a fight. Sporting an unblemished record of 13 wins with no losses and no draws, 8 knockouts, Alif Turhan really is one of the more devastating punchers anywhere at or around the lightweight division, though it does come at the expense of fundamentals, form. What she lacks in fundamentals, she makes up for in raw power. She really throws her whole body into those punches. So if she lands, somebody's going out. 31 years old to the challenger, who's only 19. Gabriella Tellez sports a professional record, an unblemished record of 7 wins with no losses and no draws, only 3 recorded knockouts. Last in action, in February of this year, opposite the ring, the Dominican Republic's own Crystal Garcia Nova, who retired on her stool during the fight. Before that, Gabriella fought 3 times in the previous year, so going into this fight, she won't have any ring rust or cobwebs that she needs to shake off. At only 7-0, she's about as ready as she's going to be. Which may not be ready at all. There's nothing wrong with the girls that Gabriella has been fighting. She's fighting the kind of fighters that you expect her to fight at the beginning stages of her career. That being said, from Crystal Nova to Alif Turhan is a pretty big step up in competition. The hope for Gabriella has got to be that Alif Turhan's fundamentals are so poor that maybe she can exploit that and make the fight competitive. Alif Turhan, who was last in action at the beginning of this year opposite the ring Tellez, who she won a split decision against. This will be Alif Turhan's second fight of this year, and what will be her 4th fight as a Matchroom fighter, and her 3rd fight under the Matchroom banner, because one of those fights was under a different promotion. She had already been signed by Matchroom, but one of those fights was promoted by somebody else. So this fight that she's about to have is on the undercard of Bam Rodriguez's bantamweight debut. It had been rumored that she would be boxing on that undercard. The rumors turned out to be true. All while she's been calling out Caroline Dubois, this division's unified champion, for a unification match. This will be Alif Turhan's 2nd defense of the IBF title since becoming IBF champion. And the thing about Alif Turhan is, she doesn't have that many fights either. Not that many more than Reina Tellez. What separates them is who she's been fighting. Unbeaten Olympian Beatrice Ferreira, unbeaten contender Rima Ayadi, unbeaten contender Shauna Brown. Gabriella Tellez will be the next unbeaten fighter that Alif Turhan takes on. And if the trend sticks, and this continues, she'll be the first to give her her first professional loss. How's she gonna do it? Same way she always does. Barreling forward, swinging for the fences, throwing her entire body into those heavy shots to where only one of them needs to land to get the other girl hurt. The same thing that makes Alif Turhan dangerous is the same thing that might one day get her beat. And it's that she doesn't offer much in terms of ring savvy, ring craft. The bell rings, she shoots out of her corner like a bat out of hell, and swings for the fences. Boxing's equivalent of throwing shit at a wall and hoping something sticks. But with this kid, when something sticks, it lands hard. Really fucking hard. So I don't get the impression that a 19-year-old Gabriella Tellez is gonna be the one to expose and exploit Alif Turhan. She can probably make it interesting, but I think that Alif Turhan is going to overwhelm her with so much aggression and so much power, more than Gabriella has had to experience in her 7 professional bouts. I like Alif Turan to win. It's just a question of how. Does she stop her? Or does she win a points decision? We'll find out. In the men's cruiserweight division, the Opetaia carrot dangling for Chris Billam-Smith versus Ryan Rozicki winner, the trainer confirms. Billam-Smith and Rozicki meet at Bournemouth International Centre live on Sky Sports this weekend in what is the first ever Zuffa boxing event on British soil. It will be the Englishman's first outing since he outpointed Brendan Glenton at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in April last year and the opening fight of his new deal with Zuffa. Now his trainer McGuigan says an eye-catching victory will open the door to a crack at the Ring Magazine Cruiserweight King, Jai Opetaia, another star Zuffa signing before 2026 is out. McGuigan told The Ring, the Opetaia fight is all part of the deal with Zuffa. The most important thing when you're both part of the same organization is transparency. So we know that if Chris beats Rozicki, he could well fight Opetaia in his next fight. I'd love it if we got it over here, but it's a fight that could happen in the States. You never know. Maybe it could work over here as a doubleheader with Conor Benn in the other one or something like that. Conor Benn is rumored to be facing Ryan Garcia next for his WBC title. We don't know where that fight's gonna go down, but I don't get the impression it's gonna be Ryan that has to travel. In any event, what Shane McGuigan is touching on is maybe you could do Opetaia versus Billam-Smith on the undercard of that fight. Maybe it could be the co-main event. It's not a bad idea. There's potential for a lot of things to come for Chris, but the most important thing is winning here, winning well, and making a statement. Former world champion Billam-Smith lost his WBO title in a unification with WBA champion Zurdo Ramirez in November. That was on the Saudi Arabian Latino night, helmed by Golden Boy Promotions with the backing of Turkey El Sheikh. Chris then returned to his winning ways against Brendan Glenton, but the 35-year-old insisted he was not prepared to rush to his next move. He eventually decided to align himself with Zuffa, and McGuigan says Team CBS handpicked Rozicki in order to ensure an exciting first fight under the new banner. He added, Chris has got an opportunity to showcase himself to Zuffa. As the entertainer that we all know he is, they come from a UFC background where they like people to go for it. They don't want people to stand back and have a fencing match. They want a raucous crowd and an exciting fight. That's what they're gonna get with Chris in Bournemouth. We looked around and we thought, Rozicki is tailor-made for that. Let's get this guy. It's like throwing a grenade around and wondering if it's going to go off or not. But I know, Chris, and I know, he switches on when he's in danger. Rozicki is a puncher, and when Chris has that little fear factor, that's when you see the best of him. They picked this guy. So what does that communicate if not confidence that it was Team CBS that decided to do this? They didn't have to. They're already looking ahead to a Jai Opetaia fight. What does that communicate, if not confidence? So where Team CBS are already thinking about what happens after this weekend, Ryan Rozicki, he's focused on Billam-Smith, not a potential opponent in Opetaia. Jai Opetaia is the cruiserweight every contender Zuffa Boxing sign wants to challenge. Australia's Opetaia owns the Ring Magazine title and is considered the class of the 200-pound division until someone dethrones him. A fight with the former IBF champion is exactly the type of opportunity and payday Rozicki seeks. Opetaia hoped to face WBC champion Noel Mikhailian next, but that plan could change now that the WBC ordered Armenia's Mikhailian to box WBA, WBO champion David Benavidez next. Regardless, opposing Opetaia is the last thing on Rozicki's mind this week, because the Canadian contender learned an invaluable lesson the first time he fought Yamil Peralta. Rozicki acknowledged that he overlooked Argentina's Peralta, who Rozicki edged by split decision in their 10-rounder 4 years ago. I looked past an opponent again, one time in my career, and I'll never make that mistake again, Rozicki told The Ring. I'll never focus on who's next, because of what happened when I fought Peralta the first time. And those who don't know, he's one of the best cruiserweights in the world. I just looked past him to the world champion at the time, Lunga Makabu. Lunga! But I was so focused on the next guy, it costed me that night. So, for me personally, I don't look past Chris right now. I know they're talking about Jai, and of course, anything can happen after this fight. The winner's probably gonna be in line to fight him. I would love to, but right now, I'm focused on Chris. There's a lot of wisdom from Ryan Rozicki when you get past that tough man exterior. You know, the 100-yard stare, the tattoos,
him modeling himself after Jack Dempsey. He does have his eyes on the ball, he's right. He can't worry about Jai right now, he's got to focus on Chris. And the fact that the fight is happening in Chris's neck of the woods.
Gonna need a knockout.
Rozicki, a native of Sydney Forks, Nova Scotia, traveled to England to battle Billam-Smith in the former WBO champion's hometown of Bournemouth. Sky Sports will televise Billam-Smith versus Rozicki from Bournemouth International Centre in the UK, and Paramount Plus will stream it to subscribers in the United States and Canada.
Billam-Smith will end a 13-month layoff. The 35-year-old ex-champion beat Brendan Glanton by UD in his last fight in a 12-rounder in April of the previous year at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London.
What the fuck took him so long to come back?
Mulling over his options. Who did he want to proceed with? Did he want to stay on Boxer now that they're not with Sky Sports, or do you want to change your decorum? He chose the latter.
The hard-hitting Rozicki, 31, settled for a majority draw with Peralta in their 12-round rematch almost 18 months ago, but hasn't lost since former heavyweight contender Oscar Rivas defeated him by UD in their 12-rounder in October of 2021 in what was the inaugural Bridgerweight title fight. Billam-Smith is the ring's number 3 contender for Opetaia's title, 3 positions ahead of the 6th-rated Rozicki. That would probably be the biggest name on my resume, one of the most established fighters for sure, Rozicki said about Billam-Smith. It would definitely set me up for some big things in the future. The build-up towards the main event of Zuffa Boxing 7 has been mundane compared to some promotions because Billam-Smith and Rozicki have been nothing but respectful.
They'll make up for it when the bell rings.
Despite the fact that we're gonna fight each other, I'm gonna try to hurt him. He's gonna try to hurt me. I've always actually been a fan of Chris, Rozicki said. I've traveled to see him fight. I try to line up a fight with him, but also as a boxing fan, I'm a fan of his style. Inside the ring, he's a killer, a fighter, a warrior. Then outside the ring, he's a gentleman. Like his nickname, he's everything you would want in a champion to be. Truly.
He's right. Even I like Chris Billam-Smith, not just as a fighter, but as a person. He seems like a great guy.
I think he's gonna win.
But I wasn't aware that he was coming off a 13-month layoff. I didn't factor that into the equation. How can Ryan use that to his advantage? Ryan is a characteristically physical fighter, likes to push the envelope, likes to push his opponents. So against a guy who ain't been pushed in over a year, you want to jump on him early, before he has the chance to shake off the cobwebs. You want to land hard.
Now that may seem like a generic piece of advice, but the wisdom behind it is, don't let Chris grow into the fight. Don't let him settle in. Unsettle him early.
And the only way for Ryan to do that is go for broke. Do it early. Because he's not all of a sudden going to turn into some sugarfoot fighter getting on his toes and staying behind a jab using the ring. Ryan is a pressure guy. That's what he's good at, so that's what he's got to stick to. That's his best bet. Jump on Chris, and jump on him early.
Another generic piece of advice that might come in handy is vary your attack. Use different punches to get around the high guard. Body shots here, uppercuts there, up the middle to split the guard, and punches around the side.
Because I don't think Chris is going to run from this guy. I think it's Chris's intention to use his aggression against him, catching and countering mid-range.
Ryan has to use that to his advantage, that Chris really isn't a mover. He's mostly a mid-range fighter. Ryan, to the best of his ability, has to use that to his advantage. It's very hard to imagine that Ryan can win any other way other than by way of knockout.
Now it's time for another installment of what is fast becoming one of the most popular segments here on the channel, Ring IQ Hate Mail!
Those David Benavidez videos really do bring out the hate mail, don't they? A guy who goes by the name Who Dis said, LMAO, damn. Now, even a successful trainer in Garcia gives his opinion and believes Benavidez could win that fight, and you shit on his opinion.
I didn't shit on his opinion, I just said I don't agree with him. I don't believe him.
Just because you don't like Benavidez, this coming from a former champion and a trainer of the year, whose opinion or word should we validate more?
Validate whoever's opinion you like, I don't give a shit. You came here.
A former world champion and trainer of the year, or someone who just runs a boxing content channel from his basement. Sounds like a hater to me.
Sounds like an appeal to authority to me. If you want to go with Robert Garcia's evaluation of that fight, that is never going to happen, go right ahead. But Robert knows, like I know, like you know, that fight is never going to see the light of day. David needs 2 years to fight a guy at his own weight in Opetaia. Those were his words.
Not mine.
So if the guy needs 2 years to fight a guy at his own weight, how many more would he need to fight Alexander Usyk, assuming Usyk is still around by that time, which we all know he won't be.
But I could give a shit if you agree with my opinion. Go with Roberts if that makes you feel better. You're the one coming here than writing me paragraphs. Because the guys in the boxing industry always get it right.
Well, that's why the appeal to authority argument doesn't work. Just because Robert Garcia was a champion, and just because he's a trainer, doesn't mean he's right by default. It doesn't mean that the boxing industry guy is always right. A lot of the time, they're not.
Because a lot of the time, they use the same kind of discernment that the fans use.
But if you only value the opinions of former fighters, and trainers, and people that are on that side of the industry, you shouldn't bother with channels like this one.
I won't even castigate you for it. I'm just saying it's redundant. If the only opinions you hold in any esteem are the ones from the trainers, and the fighters, and the people that are in the industry, then what are you watching YouTube channels for? From content creators. Why are you writing me a paragraph?
Just stick to what the fighters say, and stick to what the trainers say. I remember, after Francis Ngannou showed up Tyson Fury in their fight, there were a lot of people in the industry that picked him to beat Anthony Joshua.
I remember.
And I remember saying, Anthony's gonna do to Francis what Fury was supposed to do to Francis. He's gonna pack him up and it's not gonna take long.
In spite of what the people in the industry said, I picked Usyk to beat Fury.
Where Fury seemed to be the favorite among a lot of people, not just the fight fans, but the people in the industry, I went with Usyk, and time has proven me right, and I can't tell you how many more times that's happened where people on one side of the industry said one thing, and I thought another.
That's what works for me.
So if that doesn't work for you, go somewhere else. You don't have to write me an essay about it.
I'm leaving.
So fucking leave. You think that's going to influence my opinion? You castigating me for having one? And not believing that David Benavidez beats Usyk because Robert says so?
Pretty sure that Robert believed his little brother was going to beat Errol Spence, and we see how that turned out.
I picked Spence to win that fight, by the way.
You know, I actually hold Robert Garcia in very high esteem as a trainer, but that doesn't mean that everything he says anecdotally is solid gold. Some opinions you're going to agree with, and some you're not. This is one instance where I don't agree with Robert. I don't see why that would bother you so much.
My IQ is a hater.
And that's what people like to say these days whenever they don't agree with you. You're a hater.
You hating?
I don't know why people say that shit as much as they do, because it doesn't hold any weight. What are you saying, that I don't like David Benavidez? I don't need you to say that. I say that all the time. I don't think he's that good.
Does that make me a hater? I have to like him?
I'll tell you what, that if the consequence of being honest is having weirdos online call you a hater, then call me a hater.
I don't care.
I've been called worse, that if the biggest indictment for being honest about David Benavidez and what I think about him as a fighter is some asshole online calling me a hater,
So?
Call me a hater if it makes you feel better. It's not gonna change anything.
It's not gonna do a damn thing.